All right, show of hands. How many people remember that bumper? Anybody? A handful? It's been a minute, hasn't it? We were doing this series a while back called But I Say. We've been going through the Sermon on the Mount, but it's kind of the series that I go to when I'm in between series, right? And so we've actually, if you're new here, and by the way, there's a lot of people, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, since COVID lifted and we've all been back here, the number of new families that have been trending through here has been staggering. So if you're new here and you've never seen this and you're like, I would like somebody to say woo about that, I agree. Woo! That's right. But anyways, if you're curious at all on this But I Say series, you can always go to our website. You can find our back messages, or you can go to youtube.com/Aviator Church. So the Sermon on the Mount series, But I Say, covers chapters 5, 6, and 7 of the book of Matthew. We did 9 weeks on Matthew chapter 5 already. And so now we're pivoting into Matthew chapter 6, and we're going to spend 3 weeks for sure. And then I've got a special Father's Day thing planned for the 4th week away from now. So by the way, ladies, this is funny. You guys know how always like people say, like, hey, it's guys, it's Mother's Day is coming up, right? Hey, guys, Valentine's Day is coming up. Hey, guys, her birthday is coming up. Hey, guys, your anniversary is such and such date. Hey, ladies, here's your reminder, as if you needed it. Father's Day is a month away. And you're like, yeah, no, we've already got everything planned. Good for you for making the world go round. So, but anyway, But I Say, like I said, we've been kind of doing this on again, off again. We're picking it up where we left off from the last time that we preached on it. So I wanted to start off by doing just a little bit of a recap. So we're going to do a recap of what's called the radical ethic. So in the Sermon on the Mount, it started off with a thing called the Beatitudes, and we talked about those for several weeks, right? Blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are the meek, blessed are the peacemakers, right? And we talked about what those things mean and why are they so blessed and all of that fun stuff. And then there was a bunch of like rapid fire teaching that happens on a bunch of different topics. And then chapter 5 finishes with what they call the radical ethic. And we talked about this, and there's a formula to it, and it's important to remind ourselves of that formula and what the radical ethic is about as we transition into a new series of topics here in chapter 6. So the radical ethic, it went like this. And by the way, the title, But I Say, is actually from this radical ethic series. So Jesus would say something like this. The formula would go, you have heard it said, thou shalt not murder, right? By the way, show of hands, how many of you agree killing people is probably wrong in most instances? Yeah? Hey, bold take, guys. Proud of you. Proud of you. That's a good call. All right? So you've heard it said, thou shalt not murder. Don't kill people, right? But Jesus says, hey, let's try this one. You guys ready? Let's see if we can say this one together. But I say. You ready? On your mark and set, go. But I say. You've heard it said, thou shalt not commit murder. But I say, don't let there be anger in your heart towards somebody else, right? Why? Why? Because here's the deal. We talked about this when we went through these messages, and the reason I'm recapping because it's important to where we're going today, right? The reality is this. We can't see if somebody is angry. Have you ever known somebody in your life who is livid about something, but when you talk to them, they're just as cool as a cucumber? Right? But you know that deep down inside of them, this rage is boiling up, right? And do you know how you know when they're actually angry? Is when they hit someone with a hammer a bunch of times, right? Right? You're like, oh, that person's angry, right? Like that's when we can see that. But here's the thing. The reason that there's a radical ethic in God's economy, the reason he says it's not just about killing somebody, don't even have anger, is because while we are limited to the person's actions and what they do or the things that they say, God sees straight through to the heart, and he knows that ultimately murder is the end of the line, not the beginning. Right? The reality is it starts here. And so as God has the ability to see into the very thoughts of your heart, he says this, don't murder. That's like the bare minimum you should be doing. The reality is don't deal with the sin that underlies the murder. Don't let there be anger that fills your heart. The next one, you have heard that it was said, do not commit adultery. I'm so proud of you. But I say, don't have lust in your heart for somebody else, right? Because again, same exact concept. Because here's the deal. Adultery, what does adultery start with, team? Lust, right? Did somebody say adult? I guess, yeah. I suppose it does. That's the correct answer. That is what we call being technically correct, right? But no, so we're going to talk about being technically correct later today. It's going to be a lot of fun. But no, like legitimately, adultery starts with lust. It's not that the relationship just happens with nothing preceding it, right? Somebody notices somebody else. Somebody sees somebody else. Somebody starts paying attention to somebody else. They start paying attention to each other. This lustful relationship builds. And so Jesus says, listen, like again, in God's economy, we are stuck to being dependent on what the actions of the person are. But God says, no, I can see into your heart. You have a lust issue that you're not dealing with. It is the exact same, and it will lead to the exact same place if left unchecked. You have heard that it was said, don't swear falsely. But I say, don't swear at all, right? Let your yes be yes and your no be no, right? Because here's the thing. If you start swearing on this and on that and whatever, then eventually you break the promise. You become what? A liar. That gets you to don't swear falsely. Here's the thing. Just be a man or a woman of your word. Don't swear by anything. None of it is yours to swear on anyways. Next one, limit retaliation. You've heard that it was said, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. You guys, every time you do that now, you're getting a little less enthusiastic about it. But I say, forgo retaliation altogether. Somebody strikes you on the cheek, then do what? Turn and offer them the other cheek as well. If they say, carry my stuff for a mile, remember we talked about this being the Roman soldiers, then you offer to carry it too. It's not the idea. Like it's silly, foolish thinking for the Christian to say, well, I was wronged this much, so as long as I limit retaliation, I'm okay. As long as I wrong them the exact equal amount that they wrong me. Jesus blows that up. I was like, no. Forget it. It's this thing called forgiveness. How many of you are really grateful, really grateful that God forgives you? Let's see how many of you are actually honest and bold today, shall we? How many of you who are grateful for the forgiveness that God has given you sometimes struggle to grant that same forgiveness to other people? Right? You struggle to grant the same grace that you are so grateful to have received. It's not about limiting retaliation to be like the world. It's about foregoing retaliation to be like Christ. Last one. You have heard that it would say, love your neighbor, but hate your enemy. That's what it says in Matthew. But I set you up poorly for that one, huh? That was my fault. But I say, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, right? And really, this one kind of feeds back up to the anger bit, right? Like, don't let that anger fester. Have you ever been around somebody who was wronged in 1974? Right? Who is like, oh, this person did this to me, and I am offended by it. Oh, did this happen yesterday? No, it happened 31 years ago, 9 months and 4 days. Like, oh. I don't know when exactly, but somewhere in the last 31 years, this stopped being a them problem and it started being a you problem. You understand? All right? Somebody say, oh, that one might have hit somebody a little bit harsh there, right? It's somewhere along the line, like, here's the thing. I'm just going to go ahead and make the Bible really simple. You shouldn't have enemies. Right? Shouldn't have enemies. You shouldn't be living in anger and hatred and wanting revenge for things that happened to you. This entire idea of the Sermon on the Mount at the end of Matthew chapter 5 is this radical ethic that says God sees straight through your nonsense, through the pretty show that you put on when you come to church. He sees directly into the heart of who you are, and that's the part that he's concerned about. And that was as it related to things that are morals or ethics, these types of things, right? So now we're going to take that same concept that the God of the universe can see right through all the stuff that the rest of us can't see through. Listen, you can fool me. I'm not that smart, right? I'm not that shut up. I'm not that observant. I'm not that aware. I'm not that witty. Listen, you can make me think that you are something really impressive. Whoop-de-doo. Right? At the end of the day, you stand accountable before God Almighty, and you cannot fool God. And so here, the book of Matthew, Jesus pivots in the Sermon on the Mount to take the same idea of the fact that Jesus sees clearly into your heart, and he turns it away from these ethical things, and he turns it to religious observances or things that we should do as religious Christians. So these are the things that we should be doing. But here's the thing, we're going to talk about it today. It's not just about what you do, but it's about how you do them. And here's the title of the message. You guys should write this one down. And if you're parents, you should put this one somewhere on the wall of your house. Technical obedience is not obedience. Technical obedience is not obedience. That's what you need to understand as we begin to study Matthew chapter 6 today. Let me give you an example of technical obedience. When I was younger, and also today, I was a slob, right? Am a slob. If you don't believe me, when you leave here today, most of you know, hey guys, what do I drive around in? A dope minivan, right? I drive around in a dope minivan. And if you walk out into the parking lot, there's lots of minivans out there. There's only one dope one though, right? If you walk out there, you look around, you're like, oh, that minivan is a dope minivan. I bet that's Dave's. Here's what I want you to do. Walk up to it, look in the windows, and then be disappointed in who I am as a person. Okay? Because I am disgusting. I know this about myself. I am an absolute slob. Well, here's the thing. My parents were not. And they had this desire in their heart for me as a young lad about the age of 8 to stop being so disgusting. But I just straight up didn't care. Still don't. Okay? And so this created, my parents were reasonably strict, right? And this created some situations in our house. Situations where my mom would walk in and see stuff all over the floor to my room, and she would raise her voice at me. The audacity of that woman. I never do that with my kids. Never. You're like, you guys yell, like, he yells at us all the time. Of course he yells at his kids. Anyways, right? She opens up the door. She sees this mess. She starts yelling at me. Before she closes the door, she says, when I come back here, I don't want to see anything on this floor. Deal. Yeah, done. No problem. Open up the closet door. Yoink. Right? Close that. Everything that's left, get it into a pile, shove it under my bed. Right? She walks back in later, and for a brief moment before she realizes who I am and what my disgustingly sinful heart is all about, she opens the door and she's like, oh no. Right? Because parents, you've done this, right? You open the door and you know full well there was not enough time to clean this room like that. And so she walks over to my closet and she opens it up and sees the disgusting mess. She gets down on her hands and knees and sees like a mountain of dirty underwear underneath the bed, right? And she starts yelling at me, and what do I say? Well, you said that when you came back, you didn't want to see anything on the floor. Technical obedience. Technical obedience, right? I am technically correct here. I have technically done the right thing, and you should be grateful to me. She wasn't. Never was. No. Same thing with my dad. Like, put your clothes in your drawer. I would do my laundry, but then I would leave it all wadded up in my hamper that I carried it up in, and then I would just wear wrinkled clothes everywhere, which was fine by me, still is. But my dad, that bothered tremendously, and so he said one time, put your clothes in your drawers. Okay. Right? Like socks, underwear, shirts, pants, coats, whatever. Just get it all in there. Got everything I own in 3 of my 9 drawers in my room. And then he opens it up, and he sees this, and they're more wadded up than they would have been had I just left them in the hamper. And the Joker got mad at me. Technical obedience. Ladies, let's spin this to you, shall we? Ladies, let's talk about technicality, shall we? Ladies who are married in the room, let's say your husband takes you out on a date this week, right? Everybody go, aw, because most of you know it's not going to happen, right? But let's say that your husband, I'm just swinging all directions today, guys. Say your husband takes you out on a date, right? Maybe it's your anniversary this week, right? Me and Lisa are about to celebrate 10 years. Let's say I took Lisa out for 10 years, right? Let's say all of these people, put yourself about your 10-year anniversary. Let's just do that. You go out to eat, and the husband says, baby, baby, I love you so much. I just want you to know this, that in our 10 years, I have never technically cheated on you. Doghouse, outhouse, cemetery plot, right? How many of you the next week would be back here by yourself, not because you're divorced or struggling, but because you'd be widowed? Right? Legitimately, right? technically obeyed you. I've technically been faithful to you. I've technically obeyed you. Like, listen, God does not exist in the world of technically. Do you understand? And so when he talks about it through Matthew chapter 5, and he says things like, you have heard it said, don't kill people, but I'm telling you, don't have anger in your heart towards somebody else, because that is the root of the thing that will eventually lead to murder. It's not about, well, technically I haven't actually killed anybody yet, so I'm probably fine. That's nowhere in God's economy of judgment of our hearts, right? Technically is not a thing that he ascribes to in the same way that us parents, when our kids technically obey, or when our spouses are technically faithful, right? Like, these are not things that are acceptable. If they're not acceptable to us, why would we assume they would be acceptable to God? All right? So now we're going to transition into Matthew chapter 6. We're going to start looking at Matthew 6:1, and we're going to see this technical shift, right? This idea of how do you take the idea of God looks at your heart away from these things, the but I say section, and into religious observances. Over the next 3 weeks, we're going to look at 3 things. Today, we're going to look at giving. What is the heart about giving? And by the way, I didn't announce what we were going to be talking about today, because anytime that people know that we're talking about giving in the church, nobody shows up. Gotcha, right? Next week, we're going to actually go a little bit out of order. We're going to do the third one next. Next week is fasting, and then the week after that is going to be prayer. And so we're going to look at this idea of how should it change our approach to doing these 3 things that we've been called to do, knowing that God sees through all of our nonsense and all of the games we play and straight to the heart. Okay? Matthew 6, verse 1 says this: beware of practicing your righteousness. This is the pivot verse, by the way. Beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them, for then you will have no reward from your Father who is in heaven. Hold on a second. Beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by... Beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them, for then you will have no reward from your Father who is in heaven. Stand by. Beware of practicing your righteousness before other people. We have a problem. We have a problem here. Jesus contradicts himself here. Beware of practicing your righteousness before other people. So don't do your big righteous good things before other people in order to be seen by them, for then you will have no reward from your Father who is in heaven. Literally last chapter when we went through Matthew chapter 5. I should have seen this in my study this week. I apologize. It says this, Matthew chapter 5, verse 16. It's talking about salt and light, right? That you are the light of the world, the whole city that's set on a hill cannot be hidden, therefore, right? Verse 16, in the same way, let your light so shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to the Father who is in heaven. Beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them. Let your light so shine before others that they may see the good things that you do or your good works and give glory to the Father who's in heaven. Well, by golly, I guess my life is a lie. Son of a gun. Can you believe that? Son of a gun. That is crazy. God can't contradict himself, therefore the whole Bible must be bunk. I'm going to have to start selling cars. Or there's another explanation. Now, this was a dramatic interpretation of what just happened, right? So here's the thing. This week I was actually studying for this, and I saw somebody posted a video on YouTube, put these 2 verses side by side and said, see, your God is a lie. You hear that? Because one says, you should absolutely let your light so shine before men that others would see your good works and glorify your Father who's in heaven. And this one says, absolutely don't let anybody see your good works, right? Don't practice your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them, for you will have no reward from your Father who's in heaven. Well, by golly, how do we make those make sense? Guys, church is closed, Christianity's done, we're out. Or let's consider the verses, shall we, for just a second? Because ultimately, when you compare these two verses together, it gets at the very heart of everything that the Sermon on the Mount is trying to teach us. Listen again. In the same way, let your light so shine before others, so that. So here's the thing. Let your light shine before others. For what reason? For what purpose should we do that? So that they might see those good works, and as a result, what? Give glory to God the Father, right? And so here, Jesus is saying in the exact same sermon, like, listen, like, do the right thing. And when other people see you doing the right thing, they will notice that here's the thing. Here's what they know about you. You're a wretched, filthy sinner, right? And so if even you can do the right thing, then what are they going to think? Man, that must be some powerful God that got that filthy sinner to do the right thing, right? And so legitimately the purpose there is this. When people see the righteous things that you do, let it be so that they give glory to God. Now let's look at this one. Beware of practicing your righteousness before other people. Why? In order to be seen by them. Feel the difference? Beware of doing this thing. Here's the thing. You should always do the right thing. You should always do righteous things. You should always strive to do the things that God has called you to. But here's the deal. If you're doing that so that other people will see you doing it, then you've missed the entire point. The whole idea of this is this. When you do a righteous thing, it should not be seeking your own praise. It should be seeking praise for God. When you do the right thing, okay. Who has kids? How many of you have the kids who are in the phase right now, like I do, of Daddy, watch me. Daddy, watch me. Daddy, watch me. Daddy, watch me. And it's like things that are so mundane. I can say that because they're not in here. Like they're not lifting a car over their head. It's like, oh, Daddy, I put on my shoes by myself. Like, cool, I do that every day. Wow. I'm totally kidding. It's awesome when they put their shoes on. It is a gift from God above when they put their shoes on. All right? But they're in that, Daddy, watch me, and here's what they want, especially when they're doing a good thing. Titus right now will help his brothers, but he always wants to make sure that Mommy and Daddy knows that he helped his brothers. Right? The same heart that is in him is the same heart that exists in all of us. We all naturally want credit when we do the right thing, but whose credit should we be seeking? Here's the thing. Point number one is this. It's not that you do the right thing. It's how you do something that matters. It's the heart behind the thing that matters in God's economy. When you are doing the following three things, when you're giving, when you're praying, when you're fasting, it's not that you do them. There are people who pray every day and never actually talk to God. Right? There are people who give every single time that the offering bucket goes around, but they don't understand charity. There are people who do things in church and they don't understand the God behind the things that they're doing. They do it because they've been told to. They do it because it's been driven into their heads. And I'm telling you this, the heart of how you do the thing matters. Everyone say the heart matters. The heart matters. If your heart is to bring glory to you, you have done it wrong. If your heart is always and only to point glory and praise back to God the Father, then you have done it correctly. Now, let's look. That's the pivot verse, right? Here's the thing. Don't do your righteous acts in public. Don't be a hypocrite. Don't be one of those people, right? Don't do that if it's going to bring glory towards you. Now, let's look at how we apply that to these three areas. First one is giving. Thus, when you give to the needy, sound no trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may be praised by others. Truly I say to you, they have received their reward. I like the idea of sounding a trumpet whenever you give to the needy. Right? I actually looked it up. I read about it. There's not actual, like this is Jesus being a little bit like sarcastic and over the top. There are no actual instances in extra biblical literature or anything like that of people actually doing this. But I love the idea of someone, this is Jesus highlighting the vanity of it, right? For somebody to walk in to put their money in the offering bucket, but before they do to pull out a trumpet, go, do, 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 do. And then everybody looks and they just take a wad of cash and throw it up into the buckets. Like, oh, look at me, how holy I am. What would you think about that person? Don't say it, don't say it. We can't say those words in church. We would all think something, right? Wow, what an insufferable tool that person is, right? Right? Don't sound a trumpet before you give. When you give to the needy, like don't make some incredible fanfare, right? Like, hey, everybody, look at how generous I am. Gave money to a blind guy. Look at me, how good am I, right? Like, even saying that, I feel dirty saying that. Do you guys like me less hearing me say that? Like, what a frustrating heart and mind that is, right? Oh my gosh. Anyways, the fact that you're not appalled right now is appalling. Anyways. Don't sound the trumpet before you as the hypocrites do in the synagogues. Here we go. Here we go. Where does he call out the hypocrites first? He talks about the streets here in a second. Where's the first place the hypocrites are? Church. Where do you happen to be right now? Church. Would you believe it if I told you, and this is going to blow your minds. This is going to blow your minds. Would you believe it if I told you that there are hypocrites who come to church? I know, right? By the way, yes, we've been practicing that for months and months, and you finally did it right on cue without me having to ask you. So proud of you. Yeah, no, there are hypocrites who come to church, right? It's amazing and astonishing. I can't believe you people. As the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they, again, what's the heart of it? That they might be praised by others. Truly, I say to you, they've received their reward. This is a turn of phrase here. This received their reward is like a commercial phrase. It's they've gotten their receipt in full, right? Everything good that is going to come out of them being charitable so that other people will praise them, paid in full. They've got it all. There's nothing else to come for it. There's nothing else. Yesterday, my wife and I were up here because we're always up here, right? We had our kids. We ate lunch up here. They played on the playground, and we were getting ready to leave, which, of course, took 7.5 years because not all of my kids can put on their shoes, right? We finally get ready to leave. We're walking out of the church, and as we're walking out of the church, down the road comes a new Tesla, right? And I said, oh, look, it's a Tesla. Because that's what you say when you see a Tesla, right? So, oh, look, it's a new Tesla. And my wife looks at it. You know what she says? Not that impressed. Right? Not that impressed. And I was like, yeah, me either. But I hear the technology's cool. And then we went and put our kids in the van. Now, here's the thing. If you own a Tesla, I'm not knocking you. I think that's a dope car, right? It's not as dope as my minivan, but it's dope. It's fine. Right? If you own a Tesla, good on you. More power to you. If you own it and you have really high payments, then here at the church, we offer free access to the Dave Ramsey classes. That one's just free of charge. Ask me, I'll hook you up. Anyways. But let's say you had cash money, you could go buy a Tesla, and you bought it because you thought, when people see this Tesla, they're going to think something about me, right? There are all kinds of people, and by the way, some of you guys are like, it's not a Tesla, muscle car. Okay, cool. You know what happens when I see a really cool muscle car drive by the road, down the road? Here's what I do. I go, and then my life doesn't change at all. You believe that? Your car doesn't change my life at all. Are you aware of that? And so here's the thing. There are people who buy a Tesla or a dope muscle car or all this stuff for this status. Because why? They want recognition from people when they drive by. When people see me in this, they'll finally think I'm cool. We don't. You could be driving around Subaru, don't care, doesn't matter. Ride a motorcycle or a bicycle or walk, doesn't matter. How you convey yourself from point A to point B makes little to no difference on my life whatsoever. You aware of that? Really no difference at all. And yet these people, they buy them and they think it's this big status thing. You know what that Tesla owner received yesterday? Payment in full. Literally, we saw it, we thought, that's a Tesla. On with our lives. Feels fleeting, doesn't it? Like, man, I spent a lot of time. I took it to the car wash. It's a sick car. Like, people should notice me and care about me and all this stuff. But here's the thing. When you're seeking what? When you're seeking praise from other people, man, it's fleeting. Because everyone else has got their own lives going on. Nobody really cares that much about what you do or drive. You understand? It got real quiet in here. Are there a bunch of prideful people who have nice cars? Is that what's happening right now? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. And yet, we do things like that to seek praise from other people. And here's the thing. If that's the payment that you want, if that's the reward that you're seeking, you're going to find it lacking. You're going to wish at the end of your life that you had spent your time and your money and your efforts on things that actually mattered. Amen. Point number 2 is this. Pretend charity results in pretend rewards. Pretend charity, pretend rewards. Pretend things that you do so that everybody notices you. When you get the payment in full, when the people recognize, oh, wow, he gave so much money, then they walk away and their life is largely unchanged. You are left wishing that you had something that mattered. You're left wishing and hoping for something that actually made a difference in your life. If you seek this idea of pretend charity where it's all about you and not about God and the heart that he's trying to cultivate in you and not about reflecting his generosity towards you, then all you're going to find is a life of chasing more and more of man's praise and finding that it amounts to absolutely nothing. You people. That was really good. I don't understand you people. Amen, Dave. There we go. Verse 3, but instead, when you give to the needy. By the way, can we just stop here for 1 second? You understand that in this is not a suggestion or a recommendation, right? Right? This doesn't say, well, if you decide to give to the needy, right? No. It is implied and understood that this is part of the responsibility of a Christ follower. You understand that? If you're not being generous in your life, you're doing it wrong, right? It never in here says, hey, here's a thing that if you feel up to it, maybe you should give it a shot. It is implied and understood that they should be generous all along. Giving alms was a big deal to the Jewish culture, and I will say this, it should be equally as big a deal today in modern Christian America, right? Being generous is something that should just be in you because of what Christ has done through you. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. If you give and you're seeking man's praise, and the Bible is very clear, then what you're going to get is man's praise. That's your reward, payment in full. Never expect another thing. But if you give with the right heart, listen, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Obviously, unless you suffered what do they call it? Where the brain literally, the hemispheres get split. That guy who had a railroad spike go through his head, right? Like his hand would just do stuff and he had no idea what was going on. It was crazy to study that one. Anyways. Assuming, there you go, Grant. We call that a rabbit in my head. That's what happens all day. You should be thankful that I don't chase all the ones that I think about. But assuming none of you have had a railroad spike through your brain, you can't really make it so that your left hand doesn't know what your right hand is doing, correct? That's not really a thing. Again, Jesus is using an absurd example or an idea to prove the point of exactly the heart that should be behind your giving. It shouldn't be this thing where you're using one hand to play the trumpet and the other hand to go like this so that everybody looks at how amazing and generous you are, so that you get that kind of reward. Instead, here's the deal. Be secretive. You want to feel close to God? I'll tell you this. I've shared this before, but it's been a long time and most of you are new, so let's do it again. My wife and I, one time we went to a marriage conference thing. I think it might have been actually before we were married. I don't remember. Either way. We went to this marriage conference thing, and we were in this class. And this class, it was the author of some book was talking, and the book sounded really good. The presenter was doing a really good job with it. We were really excited about this book. We were going to buy it for ourselves. And there was a little bit of time to talk around the room. And one of the couples started talking. And so as the couple started talking, essentially, this couple was getting married in I think a couple of weeks. And then 2 days after they got married, the husband was being deployed, and he was going to be gone, I think, for the first 18 months of their marriage. Right? And we're hearing that story, and it's that's heartbreaking. By the by, I know Matt referenced it during worship, but this week as we celebrate Memorial Day, honestly, being in this area has put me around a lot of you military people. I am so incredibly grateful for every single one of you. And honestly, here's the thing, for the spouses who are left home while the military people are deployed, you guys, you are animals. I don't understand how you do that. But anyways, we met this couple, they're sharing their story, and they weren't they were just kind of talking about some difficulties they expected. It wasn't like they were looking for anything, but both Lisa and I heard it, and it was Could you imagine getting married and then spending your first year and a half apart? And so we decided, like, we're going to do something for them at this particular conference. That night was date night, right? Everybody was supposed to go on dates and have a wonderful date and whatever. And so we went and we found the store where they were selling the book for the class that we were in that kind of talked about, like, building up to marriage and how to do it successfully. And so we bought that book, and then I don't remember how much, some amount of money that meant a lot to us at the time. We put that in there with a note, just telling them how much we appreciated what they were doing and the fact that, like, we'd be praying for them and all this kind of stuff. And then we found out where they were sitting. So we come back into the big conference room, kind of like this, chairs all over the place. We saw where they were sitting, and then they left their seats for a little bit. So I went into, like, full commando mode, right? Like, barrel rolling up the hallway, right? Like Liesl's lookout. She's like, we're good. I run over to their seat, I put the book down, and then, like, roll back through, army crawl through the seats to get back to our spot. And we just sat there and watched. So good. It was so good. It was a powerful thing. This was 10 plus years ago. I still think about it. Because we watched them come in, right? And so, like, we got our eyes locked on them. Like, they're just going through their day, they're doing the thing, whatever. Like, we are, like, we're having a moment, my wife and I here, right? They sit down, and the book is sitting there, and so I think it was a lady picks it up and looks at it, shows it to the husband, or the soon-to-be husband, right? And then starts flipping through, and they find the note and the money, and it's like, have date night on us. We're so grateful for you and the sacrifice that you're making. And, like, me and Lee's like, yeah, right? And then they start looking around, like, act cool, right? All right, be chill. It was such a fun moment. It was so cool because here's the thing. They deserved somebody to bless them for what they were about to go through, right? And we just, in that moment, God used us to do a thing. Now I've ruined it by telling all of you people about it. Totally kidding, right? But legitimately, I'm telling you this idea of giving in secret, this idea of being generous and blessing people who you know need to be blessed, and is seeking no recognition, will make you closer to God than just about anything else on this earth. It is a powerful experience. When you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving might be in secret. And then what is the reward? And your Father who sees in secret will reward you. I got to tell you, if I had to choose between the reward of you guys thinking that I'm special or God thinking that something I did was special, oh my gosh, you are such a distant second. It isn't even close. All right? It's not even close. I love you too. You just matter way less to me than God. So, as it should be, vice versa, right? So here's what I want to do today. I want to finish this up a little bit weird. I don't usually give you guys homework, but I'm giving you homework today. Okay? Here's the deal. We're talking about the Sermon on the Mount, and each week for the next 3 weeks, I'm going to give you something to do. Okay? An actual homework assignment. And here's the thing. I know full well, look at me, everybody look at me right now. I know most of you won't do it. A couple weeks ago, I asked you guys to message me what the Holy Spirit was putting on your heart after a message. Like 150 people here. I got 15 responses. Actually, 13, I think. So I know most of you aren't going to do it. Cowards. Anyways, I don't care if you're a visitor. I don't care if you've been here for longer than I've been here. I don't care how long you've called Aviator your home or if you've never would ever call Aviator. I don't care. Here's what I want you to do this week. I want you to go to the bank. I want you to make a withdrawal of an amount of money, and I do this a lot, by the way. I challenge people to do this a lot. I want you to pull out an amount of money that will not bankrupt you, but that you will notice, that you will feel that amount of money, okay? And then I want you to spend this entire week praying. And if you've never prayed before and you don't know what that is, it's just talking to God. And here's the only question you need to ask him. God, who can I bless with this secretly? Right? You might already know. You might already know who it is. And if you do, and actually I see 2 people nodding their heads. Yep, I do. Good. Do this today then. Don't wait. Take the money out and then find a way to bless them with it, right? So either if they just need straight cash, then just ding dong ditch, right? Whatever, right? Like knock on the door, take off running, and put the money in an envelope with a note that says, hey, you are loved and special. Whatever, I don't care, right? However way you want to do it to make it mean something to them, but they cannot know it was you. You understand? They cannot know it was you. And then if it's possible, I want you to do it in a way where you can see the result. Now, this may be difficult. Maybe you just have to wait and see if they post something on Facebook or whatever later, right? Like maybe it's a tip for a waiter or a waitress at a restaurant, right? Make sure you park next to the windows, right? Sneak out, get in your car, and just watch. Because what you get to see at the end of this, Dave Ramsey actually talked about this in his financial peace class. What you get to see at the end of this is God work in someone's heart. It is an incredibly powerful thing. You know, I actually did, I don't like preaching about giving. I was going to say this, but whatever. We've already offended each other, right? There's some nervous laughter. I was going to say this at the end of this here. I'll say this idea of giving, this mandatory idea of being generous, right? Scripture talks about this throughout the Bible, that giving is a part of what we should be doing. Scripture talks about that we should be giving to the church, and I think that you should be giving to the church and also finding other ways to bless other people outside of your gifts to the church, outside of your tithe. I think that these are things that are just kind of mandated in Scripture. If you disagree with me, let me know. I would love to talk to you about it, right? What I can say is this. The American church lacks massively in this giving component of what we've been called to do. I'll tell you this. I did some number crunching this week thinking about this on giving. Like, what if everybody tithed? What if everybody straight up tithed? And the very conservative estimation that I got is we'd have about 2.5 times the money to do ministry than we currently have. What if everybody actually gave the way that God called them to give, not seeking their own selfish gain or ambition, but what if it was all about, you know what, we want to make much of the name of Jesus? What if Aviator was a church that had so much money coming through it that we could do a robust ministry to fix vehicles for families in need? How cool would that be? What if we could do crazy stuff like take care of groceries for families who are in need? What if we could set up a whole thing where we could be out in the community constantly meeting the needs of people? What do you think people would think about Aviator Church then? Would they think, boy, those people are really good? No. They would think, man, that must be some crazy God behind them. They're just giving away everything. What a powerful testament that would be to our community. I love you guys. Get money out this week. Find a way to use it to bless somebody. Do it completely secretively. And then if you're willing, and most of you aren't, if you're willing, message me. I'd like to hear about it. You don't have to tell me who. You don't have to tell me anything about it. I would like to know just what it did to your heart. You can message me anonymously if you really want to take it to the full degree here, right? I would love to hear what happens in the hearts of God's people when we act like God when it comes to generosity. Let's pray. God, I praise you for the Sermon on the Mount. I praise you for the Gospel of Matthew. I praise you, God, for the opportunity to have a book that is living. It's a living word. God, I praise you for the fact that we can study your actual instructions in our actual lives. God, I pray that as we study through the Sermon on the Mount, that you would do a heart thing in us. That, God, you would begin to soften our hearts to the messages found in the Scripture, that, God, we would be people who would be wildly generous, not so that other people would recognize how generous we are, but so that we might look like you and that others might see you through us. God, make Aviator a church that is wildly generous and that is generous for the right reasons. God, we are reliant, dependent on you to do this on our behalf because we are incapable of doing it ourselves. Change us on the inside. We love you. It's in your name we pray. Amen.